I'm very fearful that it's going to come to Ontario. People in Australia, I have friends on Facebook, didn't know it was going to come there. They had, they thought they lived in a free society. We think we live in a free society, yet, we're already hearing, that we're getting fines in the park and you're not allowed to be in this park, or, like ridiculous laws that we didn't even know we were supposed to be bound to. And who are we bound to? The government? How come the government is picking our medical freedoms? And it's insanity. It's insanity.
If we did adopt, say, the Venezuelan model, and a police officer saw you without a mask and he said, drop to the ground, give me 100 push-ups, what happens then?
It's going to be a fight. That's what's going to happen, because I'm not going on the floor for anybody.
David Menzies for Rebel News here in Toronto. And folks, before I get to our latest coverage of Yahoo Nation on the lawns of Queen's Park, if you can, please chip in at journalistdefensefund.com. The fact remains that sometimes we need bodyguards, sometimes we need lawyers to help us practice journalism in the public square. Sad but true. So if you can make a donation, please do so at journalistdefensefund.com. Well, folks, what an active week it's been on the Wuhan virus file around the world, because it looks like certain governments are actually getting downright physical when it comes to enforcing social distancing etiquette and the face mask rule. For example, in Venezuela, here's a couple of examples that was in the media. There were 3 young boys who were playing basketball. Well, the police came along, broke up the game, and then forced the kids to do push-ups as punishment. And then there was a story of a male and 2 females who were arbitrarily sentenced to hard labor using picks and shovels to hollow out a ditch. I guess they didn't follow social distancing laws in Venezuela either. And I get this, one of the Venezuelan women had a sign hanging from her back that read, "I have to do community service for not using a face mask." So it's beyond physical punishment, it's also psychological shaming. And now I know what you're saying. Well, Venezuela, given that it is a leftist utopia, that's a little extreme of an example, isn't it, Menzoid? Well, maybe, but how about Melbourne, Australia, the second largest city in Australia? Did you catch the video that went viral last week when this young lady was actually taken to the ground by 3 police officers for committing the heinous crime of not having her identification immediately available? Could this be coming right here to the province of Ontario? After all, last month, Bill 195 passed. That's the bill that gives the Doug Ford government the right to extend the Wuhan Virus Emergency Services Act on a month-by-month basis for 2 years without any debate whatsoever in the legislature. And if you dare raise a ruckus, such as Belinda Carahalios, who voted against her own government, guess what? You are kicked out of caucus. In any event, let's see what members of Yahoo Nation have to say about this one. Do you think this kind of heavy-handed approach could come to Ontario?
I believe they talked about the Australian model, so
I'm a model.
Is that right? In other words, enforcing martial law here?
Try to, yes.
I'm very fearful that it's going to come to Ontario. People in Australia, I have friends on Facebook, didn't know it was going to come there. They had, they thought they lived in a free society. We think we live in a free society, yet, we're already hearing, that we're getting fines in the park and you're not allowed to be in this park, or, like ridiculous laws that we didn't even know we were supposed to be bound to. And who are we bound to? The government? How come the government is picking our medical freedoms? And it's insanity. It's insanity.
I hope Canadians will think more than what they think right now.
If you told everybody 6 months ago, you're all going to be forced to wear masks everywhere you go, they would call you a conspiracy theorist. Meanwhile...
Well, they were warning against it in the early days. Remember that?
Yes, exactly. And now if you try to tell anybody today that you're going to be contact traced, they tell you you're crazy. But meanwhile, they're doing it.
Do you have any fear that kind of heavy-handedness could come right here to Ontario?
Absolutely. I mean, we see it day by day, but I mean, one of the things that worries me the most at present, I mean, we've seen what Trudeau has done, even with you folks, and and Ezra's books, and getting the RCMP to come in and harass him like that. But the thing that worries me the most right now is having other citizens police each other.
I was thinking that myself, how come people outside wearing a mask? Because you don't even have a mandate to wear outside the mask, but you still do. And I believe it has to do with connecting fear to virtues. So people feel virtuous that they're doing their part because the government and media have been brainwashing them for the last 3 months, that they're doing their part, stopping the spread. There's no spread to stop. Like, we never had the first wave. That's why we don't have to worry about the second wave.
And as a veteran, I'm appalled at what's going on. And my husband's a veteran, and his PTSD prevents him from coming. But he too. We're like, what is going on here? We didn't put time in the military for this. Only to be. Well, and now we're worried about what's going to happen. If the things like Australia happens, then I hope we have a revolution in this country. I do.
If people don't step up now, that's just going to give them the leeway to enforce more and more restrictions on their freedom. Because why not? You're not saying anything. People didn't fight against GMO foods. They didn't fight pretty much any time, something is impeding their health or their freedom. They don't fight, but they'll sleep, 2 weeks outside the Apple store when the new Apple phone comes out. But then when you see there's a time for them to speak for their rights and their freedoms, where are they?
I think if it happened here and the woman was black, we'd be hearing all about it.
You're right. I mean, it's being said that so many governments around the world, they've got a little taste of totalitarian power, and they really like the taste, don't they?
Perfectly said. And why wouldn't they? Already their food is genetically modified, so most of them don't even have the fight in them. So they're very sheep-like, very robotic-like.
Do you mean Doug Ford's cherry cheesecake is a GMO product?
Yeah, well, it pretty much is, because that's how you have a society that's so robotic to begin with. That they're so dead already that they don't even realize that their rights are being taken away. Like, how asleep can you be to not realize what's going on right in front of you?
I can't. That looks like cherry cheesecake to me, and for some reason, I'm off cherry cheesecake.
For me, it's just like a sad flashbacks. So what I'm experiencing here, of course, in different measures and in different levels, that's what I'm experiencing here. The same thing that they're asking us to do for masks, the same thing I experienced for putting hijab on. Yes. So for me, I said different measures, but very similar. And this is really sad for me.
Too close to home.
It's pretty scary, honestly. I hope it doesn't come here. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. All this stuff that's happening is pretty crazy, and people just need to look at the facts about everything and speak up.
It's a problem. It's a problem that they're trying to force us to do anything that's against our freedom.
And the masks are now mandatory. The next step is going to be mandatory contact tracing. And they're doing the masks just to get people used to the idea of giving up your freedom for safety. The idea that you need to be responsible for other people and you need to give up your own personal freedom for the safety of others. No, it doesn't work like that. Everybody's responsible for their own health, their own safety. And that's what it has to always be. Freedom has to be essential.
When people can't connect the dots or see all of these things happening simultaneously, or even have that free discussion and free debate, I think that's one of the most dangerous things that we could possibly conceive of in a free society.
We're speechless because of what's going on, from the masks, the protective gear that was sent overseas in the beginning, to the masks are good, the masks are bad. Now the science is being squashed. We've got doctors from around the globe that aren't allowed to speak. So you're not the only ones now. They're squashing.
Who cares about the doctors around the globe? Teresa Tam, she's never been wrong, has she?
She hasn't been a doctor. When was the last time she's seen a patient? That's what I'd like to know. And if I'm a truck driver and I haven't driven for 30 years, am I still considered a truck driver?
When people can't connect the dots or see all of these things happening simultaneously, or even have that free discussion and free debate, I think that's one of the most dangerous things that we could possibly conceive of in a free society.
It's funny when it comes to looking at the facts. There's this, idea out there that we should be listening to the government, not questioning it. We should be listening to the mainstream media, which is bought and paid for by the government without any questioning. Do you buy that?
No. You got to question everything.
So the mask thing is just like the 2-week thing. It's their way in. And once they get in, like you said, look, they just extended it for 2 years. That literally gave them carte blanche. They can do whatever they want, and we can't say anything. So as long as we comply, they will make us Australia. They're already talking about curfews.
There was a bunch of youngsters about your age. They were playing basketball, and the police officers forced them to do push-ups instead of playing basketball. What do you think about that?
I just think that's just wrong. That's wrong.
What do you think if that comes to Ontario?
That's hard.
What are you going to do?
Lady, drop to the ground. 100 push-ups right now.
That's not happening. Nobody can make me do anything I don't feel to do. And I would rather end up in jail, but you're not going to make me do something that I don't feel to do.
What do you say?
I'm going to say good luck. That's about it. Good luck.
I would not do that. I would definitely not do that.
Calisthenics is good. After you.
Miss Jenny, if we did adopt, say, the Venezuelan model and a police officer saw you without a mask and he said, drop to the ground, give me 100 push-ups, what happens then?
It's going to be a fight. That's what's going to happen because I'm not going on the floor for anybody.
Well, folks, bringing you the other side of the story does not come cheap. Sometimes we need security in order to bring you the other side of the story because there are forces afoot that don't want us to bring you the other side of the story. If you can, please go to journalistdefensefund.com. That's journalistdefensefund.com and make a donation.